Afternoon, everyone, and welcome. Thanks for joining this afternoon. Apologies, it seems like Livestorm is not my friend today. I can't get my camera to work, but I thought, well, let's crack on anyway. Yeah, we're trying to look into it. Really appreciate. Thanks for joining. We thought we would do this sort of once a quarter, just run a quick live demo of MethodGrid. For those that have never met me before, I'm Pip Morpeth. I'm head of professional services. You can't see me today, but that's kind of what I look like in the bottom hand corner. Okay, moving forward. So for the live demo, what I thought I'd do first is just give a quick update on what the shared problem MethodGrid has been designed around to solve. Then kind of bring it to life. And give you a kind of example of what a playbook is, a bit demonstrating about how you build them. And then just have time at the end for any sort of questions or answers that you may have about the platform or how to prototype or how to use it in anger. Okay. Really, the shared problem, and I'll try to do this in about sort of 5-6 minutes. The shared problem that we focus MethodGrid on trying to solve is how do you kind of reduce the cost of poor quality that comes from inconsistent ways of working, either delivering services or projects. At some point, it just becomes too frustrating or too high that it triggers a point that we have to kind of invest in simplifying ways of working and helping teams be more efficient and productive in executing complex processes. Now, the typical pain symptoms, and most client, any kind of industry or any client I speak to, probably the ones highlighted in red are the most common ones that most people feel, which is kind of recognize that the way we do things is, it's not consistent. It feels like teams are starting from scratch every time we do something. And the second point is, they find it very difficult to find the information they need in how to do things. They can't find the templates. They don't understand what the process is. And also what can compound that is they can't find the right person to speak to try and help them resolve it. It tends to just be who in the office kind of responds first that can help me. So this kind of probably leads to 6 and 7, which is, we feel like we're constantly reinventing the wheel. And there's 2 sides to that story, which is, I'm building something simply because I couldn't find it. Or the other one is, there's no process in place. Therefore, every time we do something new, we have to kind of design the process first before we can actually start delivering it. And I think all of these issues compound to kind of number 7, which is, staff find it very difficult. It took me ages to learn, ways of working, to build my own network in the firm. And that kind of, in some ways, that onboarding journey for staff can be somewhat not the best experience. It kind of leads to probably people feeling a bit lost at sea in terms of how they get embedded and understand and effective quite quickly. The so what for us is quite simple. It's, and everyone knows it really. One, you've got to provide clarity of method to people. There has to be some form of process that is communicated to staff so they have clarity on what the process is. And that can be, some people, when we start with some clients, it could be we haven't got it, or we've built this massive full-blown SharePoint that no one knows where to find stuff, and it's quite cumbersome. 2 is quite important though, and I think everyone suffers this challenge. I think if you've seen what we've published on LinkedIn recently, it's kind of the left on the shelf. We've written this process down, it's in a glossy PDF or SharePoint site, but the reality is I can't tell you if people are actually compliant with it and following it. I've got no evidence, just how many people have viewed a document on a SharePoint site. So compliance is always a challenge. The other one is people capability. It's always going to be tricky for people to follow new ways of working if they don't feel confident in it. If they perceive it as a risk, they will naturally default back to what they know and what they feel comfortable with. So your ability to kind of invest in people, train people in ways of working is key. And then for the residual risk factor is, if you're working on complex human processes, there are always going to be audit and assurance involved. And it's really just making sure that people are clear on what the standards, what is the evidence that's required. And if assurance and audit do want to kind of assure a process, then how quickly can they find the information and evidence they need to do that assurance? So that's kind of the lay of the land, really. And really determining on your 1, 2, 3, 4 will probably determine how many either services or projects fail based on the residual risk of failure. In some cases, what we're trying to do is, if 40 projects fail, how do we get it down to 20 by improving ways of working and investing in people? So that's a bit about the shared problem. How we solve this, and I'll kind of bring it to life in the platform. So what we decided to do, and we recognized it, that humans are lazy. If we can't give them the information they need when they need it, they'll kind of default back to what they know or find the shortest path possible to get something done. So we decided to merge knowledge management and project management, like functionality, together. And we recognized that firms actually, what they need is the ability to build what we call playbooks, which may help any individual navigate complex processes. And we wanted to build a platform that would allow organizations to build their own library of playbooks that they can use to orchestrate different processes. The second point is, when we thought about the consultant or the human being using it, what we wanted to do was say, well, let's make it really easy for them to navigate the left to right. Whether you're kind of waterfall or agile or kind of any process delivery, you're always going to go naturally through left to right. And so that's where we came up with a kind of grid-based structure, allowing you to kind of represent the different stages of that process as it gets through to completion. And you can then also break it down into different themes and then add in your elements that sort of define, these are the activities that you need to do, here's the deliverables. And in some cases, here are the stage gates that you need to go through to transition the process. Now, we're not trying to be a single solution. We recognize that we need to sit on top of SharePoint, 365, and really allow clients also to connect to other systems that might hold evidence, asset-wise, project-wise, is also one that commonly comes up. Now, the third point, and this is probably the thing I'd say that differentiates us, is when we built Playbooks, the very much first instance of the platform was they were really good static resources. Teams liked it. It's really clear. We know what we need to do, and we know what evidence we need to provide. A couple of clients gave us feedback, said, actually, would it be possible that we can clone Playbooks for each project and then allow them to be tailored by the teams for that specific project? Because, in some ways, this method, the Playbook's great, but we need, sometimes client wants to do this over here. We need to adjust it and move it around. But by doing that, what we've enabled is a sort of continuous improvement loop. As you're using Playbooks in delivery, what teams are giving you feedback on is, okay, well, this is good, this template's bad, we want to improve this, or we want to try and build a specialized playbook for this particular solution. I'll use that sort of loop really in the demo. And the final point on how we solve is, obviously you need reporting and information that can track assurance and delivery. Where we're spending most of our time in R&D is because we have knowledge data, we have delivery data, and we have assurance information. What we're looking at is, well, can machine learning and AI help us be more proactive with certain things like lessons learned, risks and hazards, and being actively, as you use the platform and as you navigate the playbook, something might happen, therefore it might prompt you to capture a lesson, or maybe you're interacting with an element and it might push a recommendation to you about your project that's relevant at the point in time. And that's, we've got a few prototypes on our YouTube channel of that working. So if you want to have a look at the kind of what the future might look like, certainly have a look at YouTube and subscribe to us on that to have a look at those videos. We work predominantly with sort of architecture, engineering and construction clients. It's not that we also have other clients in sort of consulting, financial services. But where we started really was with MACE and TNT, and it's just been a natural sort of focused way of growing the business, is just really helping AEC organisations. But more recently, we've been supporting SSE, sort of moving into kind of renewables and energy. I'd say the main benefits why is kind of most of it is productivity efficiency, but also I'd say the sort of main cash in bank is quality. How can you kind of reduce the number of claims? How can you reduce the kind of cost of poor quality by driving more proactive assurance in how you deliver services? All right, doing okay for time. So this is the Playbook improvement loop, and I'll use the demo to kind of try and bring this to life for you guys. So the platform allows you to build your own playbooks. Once you've built a playbook, you then have the ability to clone it. And that creates an instance by which you can then give to a project manager, and you can say, look, I've given you, I think, 80% of what you need, but please can you go and have a conversation with the team, the client, the kind of different stakeholders, and just right size this playbook relevant to the project so they can adjust it and tailor it. And a key reason for doing that is also trying to get the teams sort of vested that the playbook is a way of helping them solve the solution. And then once you've cloned it and you've tailored it, you can then assign team members to the activities. They can tick things off, but then you can also add the assurance elements into it, which are the gateways, and you can specify which tasks have to have evidence uploaded in order to approve it. And really the main focus and our realization when we switched cloning on was teams were much more proactive in, oh, actually, do you know what, this playbook is okay, but it would be better if we did this or added that. And the main reason that kind of happens is because the kind of knowledge and process is actually pushed into delivery. It's not something that's sort of left on the shelf that just gathers dust. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to share my screen, and I'll just sort of bring this to life in the platform so you can see how you go about doing it. So just bear with me. There we go. So hopefully you can all see this. And so this is the concept here. So you can see that for this example, it's got a library of different playbooks that potentially you might build. You might have one for program delivery. Obviously, we've done a lot of work with Network Rail. So if you're Network Rail, you can use PACE. But also what we found is clients were also using the platform for other types of playbooks, more for kind of internal pieces. So there's a kind of staff induction playbook. People will use it for winning work. There's also ISO 9001 and different certification playbooks. So I'm going to show you what a playbook looks like. I'm just going to remove some of the tracking on this one. Okay. So as you can see on the screen, this is a program delivery playbook. You can see that it's got its different stages, sort of identification, initiation, delivery, and deployment, and hopefully at the end, somewhere closure. So there's the kind of life cycle stages that you can build and add. You can also define your own stage gates and controls. So it's kind of, this is this gate. These are the gate approvers. Here's an overview, the objectives, and you can also list the kind of exit criteria that teams can tick off and evidence. But you can also have, what we find most clients will do is have an evidence section where they will upload the key deliverables that need to be passed for that particular gate. It came up today, I was doing another demo, and one of the common questions we get asked is, look, how kind of rigid is the platform? And what we decided to do when it came to gates was, look, if you're in delivery, I'd say, yes, you can say a gate's failed, you can say passed, but most outcomes we find with gates is they're normally a conditional pass. You haven't got everything that we need, but we've kind of made a risk-based assessment. It's okay to continue, but please can you kind of capture the kind of WIP? And then when we come to the next gate, please, we want to be able to pass the gate that there's no outstanding conditions. So just to give you that degree of flexibility to record those type of outcomes. When it comes to, so that's the kind of left to right, and then you can start building what we call themes. So you can say, look, here's program project management tasks, here's organization and governance, here's business change, benefits management, solution. Now, you're in the ability to basically build the structure of your playbook. There's no restrictions on the number of stages or the number of themes or what you want to call it. But what we're trying to do here is somehow manage the cognitive load that is just making it easier for people to view the left to right for their particular area as they go through the process from left to right. Now, the next sort of element of the playbook is all these coloured shapes, and you can design what the colours are, and you can codify the platform to look and feel like your organisation's playbook. But the key bit we learn, if I click on this activity, was to, yes, there are kind of tasks and controls involved in what we want you to do. But if you've never done it before, what we're doing here on the left-hand side is to say, well, look, here's a description, here's a video explainer that you can access and watch. Here's the kind of tailoring guidance for this particular activity or deliverable. Some clients will put in racy tables. You can also put in hints and tips. And also the most common one is, yes, you can put links to training that you already have in your existing systems. I'll show you a different way that we're currently working with on clients on how to integrate e-learning into the platform. But you can also, here, this is the bit where you can say, well, look, who's the expert I can go to speak to? And if I've never, done this before and I need a bit of support, I can interact and I can ask Harry for a bit of help, or, Harry's not responded yet, so I'll see if Sonia's available, and I can chat and interact, please, can you help? So this is really trying to signpost people to the right people to speak to about who the experts are about a particular process or a particular activity or deliverable in your organization. I'm going to come back, and then you can start to say, well, here's all the tasks and controls. And for this particular one, I can see that Rosie has ticked this off. And then when it comes to like program definition, it's not assigned to someone. So I can go into the platform, I can assign myself, I'll do it to me and I'll get the notification. Nice little thing that it highlights any tasks assigned to me in blue. And I can say, well, okay, I can try and tick this task off. I've been assigned to it. Yes, I'm happy to approve it. And this is where the system says, well, this task or this control has been designed that I have to upload evidence for it to be approved. So I'll have to go and I can add files, and so I'll just do this very quickly. I'll just do that one. There we go. And that's uploaded, or it can just be a link. I could link directly to a document in OneDrive or SharePoint, or it could just be a link to a different system that holds that evidence. Okay. And now that kind of evidence has been captured, I can tick it off. And then you can start to use the kind of visual management aspects of saying, okay, well, how are we doing on this particular project? I can tick this off, and it'll hopefully show me the kind of display tasks of me tracking delivery for the playbook. Also, I might come back. You can also say, well, look, this activity has a deliverable, and I can click on here, and it'll navigate me to this deliverable. And here's the purpose, here's the templates, here's some best practice examples, here's some toolkits that I can use, and here's the quality criteria. So what we're trying to do is, if I'm asked to produce a deliverable, that people aren't having to kind of scurry around and find or trail SharePoint and try and find a good example, and the templates are accessible there and then, but there's guidance in that they can access that helps them do that. So that's really the kind of the real simple construct of a playbook, kind of building elements and basically building a playbook that you can design. Now, when it comes to designing a playbook, if I just click on this pencil, this gives me the edit rights. Now, if I want, I can click here, and this is my own project, and I want a new project, and I'll click here, and it will clone me an exact copy of this playbook that I can then use and tailor for a particular program or project. I won't do that because it'll take about a minute to clone, because what it will do is clone all the templates and all the content and knowledge specific so that I can tailor and adjust it for the needs of my project. But if I wanted to say, oh, well, actually, I'm working with this client and actually, they want to do this deliverable over here, so I'm going to remove that. But also they might, and it happens a lot, is I need to build a new deliverable. And it might be, I need to build a statement of work. It's a good example. And in the platform, obviously you can build what you want and how you want the playbook to look and feel. And it might be a really advanced playbook, it might be a sort of description that I need to provide. I want to add a checklist in it. So what are the kind of key activities, kind of draft statement of work. And I might add in, I've got an expert in the firm who's the expert on statements of work. And I can obviously move the elements around. Now, when we're building playbooks, when we've done them manually, it can be quite a sort of resource-intensive affair. So what we've been experimenting with, and it's kind of released in the platform, is naturally I can have templates. So I can define what a standard template would look like. So I want a common look and feel for the playbook, so it makes teams a bit easier to navigate. But I can also use AI to say, well, look, do you know what? I just, if it wouldn't mind, could it fill in? It's a deliverable, and clients can tailor the queries that for particular templates. I click here, and hopefully this gives me kind of 80% of what I need, which is, okay, it's written the kind of purpose statement of what statement of work is. It's put in some good activities that I can refine and tweak about what needs to actually happen. It's told me the format composition. It's told me the kind of hints and tips, the quality criteria. It's had a go at quality responsibility, so who needs to produce and review and approve it. So what we tend now to help clients do is really try and get playbooks built within sort of 4 to 6 weeks. And that can be using a combination of AI, but also fine-tuning AI to look at, clients' existing resources and deliverables. I'll just come out. So that's the kind of key concept of Method Grid. What you're doing is trying to codify quite complex processes in a kind of easy to navigate format to help teams navigate the left to right. I mentioned kind of e-learning, and this is kind of what we're experimenting with Network Rail. So if you kind of look at risk management, and we build guidance elements, so this is what risk management is, here's key lessons, and what we're experimenting with now, and we're doing some of this work with Network Rail, is look, here is the e-learning courses that you have available, and you can interact with these. And, okay, I can't remember my first induction, I did this course way back when, and you can actually navigate and start to interact with that e-learning as you're using the playbook. So a lot of this is about, we learn a lot, 70% is said what we learn on the job. It's just making sure that teams have got the access to that information as they're learning and provide quite an immersive experience so that they don't have to, oh, where was that course held? I can't find it. I can't remember it. I can't remember what section was useful. For those that are interested, there's also the ability to switch from, this is very visual. For those that need to see a timeline, you can move the grid between different views. So you can say, well, great, look, that's great. I've got the visual view, but then I also have a kind of timeline view. I can put dependencies between tasks and set the durations and timescales of it. So if I need to see a timeline view of this playbook being used in execution, I can quickly switch between the two. Naturally, you can build your own. Very last point, you have the ability to build your own like dashboards and widgets in the platform. And probably the most common one which clients like is, if I've got a portfolio of projects or processes that are in flight, I want to just be able to have a look at them, and I want to be able to dial in very quickly and say, okay, here's my portfolio. All right, how's this client program growing? I click in and I can, this one's not very healthy because most of the tasks are overdue, but this is giving me the kind of visibility to be able to say, okay, where are they? Where are the team? What's the issues? And hold people account to say, look, please, can you get the playbook up to date and it's relevant and tracked for kind of assurance of delivery. So I'm going to just stop sharing that. I'm just going to replay this. So hopefully, let me just make that bigger. So hopefully that's sort of given you, in sort of 15 minutes, quite a short overview of how the platform works, okay? Now, I'll ask it sort of time for really questions, really. I'll put a few down because when you ask questions, it can be sort of a little bit daunting. So, but I can see some people have already sort of mentioned things in chat and questions, so I'll just get to that. Hi Vet, very nice to meet you. So you mentioned that you could link with someone's performance plan in an HR system. How can you describe that might work? So there's different, when we do HR links to different systems, what we find now is most common is links to competency management systems. So we can put links, you can navigate and link to existing systems about competencies. So you can certainly link what systems or training help you develop that competency. The other one that we've also is quite common is as you complete activities in the playbook, you can feed those activities into competency management systems to say, well, this person has now successfully completed their PMP or their PID, they've done 6 of them, and that can actually then contribute as evidence towards their competencies. And that's quite similar with systems and platforms like Camille. If there's any other questions, I kind of alluded to it. Common questions we get is kind of what other use cases for playbooks have clients implemented? What we find is naturally there is program project delivery playbooks, which I've kind of illustrated. The staff onboarding or graduate scheme playbooks are very popular. So being able to build a playbook that navigates that early joining, the first kind of 6 months or 3 to 6 months as you join, that just, this is all the information you need, this is how you get things done, is very common. In terms of how long it takes to build a playbook, like when we used to build them manually, it was quite a long process. Where we tend to do now is try and about between sort of 4 to 6 weeks is to try and get the playbook built and into pilot within that period. And the reason we kind of encourage pilot is whilst we can write processes down, they can be quite theoretical. What we're trying to do is, can we get this tool into teams so they can actually test it, work it through, and work out what right level of detail they actually need to help them orchestrate the process. And those that are interested, what we have done recently is we've learned from doing a number of demos with different clients. What we find really useful is to actually prototype a playbook for a particular use case. And the reason we do that is really, it helps us understand if we are the right solution choice for the client. So we can either spend a couple of hours or a day just trying to prototype a particular process to try and bring it to life. And then hopefully at the end of that point, yes, you can make a decision, or you can have a bit more confidence that yes, Method Grid might be a good solution choice for your teams. Nick, good question. Who owns the playbooks? Are some private and some in open domain? So there are some templates in the platform. So for example, Praxis is built in the playbook. Network Rails, PACE framework is available in the platform. And there's also a few other, like there's a template for staff onboarding that one of our clients built and then said, look, we're very happy to make this playbook available for all clients. So yeah, so there are resources in the platform that at least give you a starting edge. Okay. Very quickly, guys, because I appreciate time. Hopefully it was a very sort of rapid tour, and apologies, my video camera wasn't working today. What we will do is we'll send this pack out so you have this. There's a few resources in that pack. So there's a link to PACE Digital. Now that's a public playbook that's published, which is read-only. So you can, if you want to have a look and interact with a playbook, you can. And the link will be, you just need to click on this link on the PDF that follows. Also, if you're interested in more the kind of how to integrate e-learning into playbooks, we've put the kind of link to the Academy, and the white paper probably goes less rushed, but gives you more information about what to think about how you go about building playbooks. And then just a quick signpost, we run a monthly webinar with kind of our clients, some industry experts as well. And we do that monthly, and this month for June, we're running one with Lace Partners. Lace Partners use us as codifying how they do their HR transformation services. And this was a consulting firm that wanted to codify their IP in how they do it to offer clients a bit more of a differentiated sort of service that can be tailored directly to their needs. So really good session. They're also going to go into their experience about how you actually embed Method Grid and get it adopted by consultants and staff. So it should be a really good session. So once again, apologies for my camera, but thank you for giving me half an hour. Okay, thanks very much. See you.